Hey, welcome to another amazing episode of the Brave Entrepreneur podcast. I'm your host, Jena Rodriguez, and I am so excited. Today we have another amazing guest with us all the way from, what's the city? Ireland, but what's the city?
The state is Donegal.
Oh, Donegal. See, I was like, I have no idea, but Ireland. So I'm excited. It's really late for her where she's at, but she was so brave to be on our show today. And just to remind you who I am a brand and business and brave strategist for entrepreneurs worldwide and really supporting them in up-leveling their brand and their clarity about who they are in their marketplace, but ultimately making a lifetime and sustainable brand and money-making strategies that really change your life for more freedom, more influence, and more impact. And so today we're going to talk about Brave like we do every show and really get under the hood with Moira, who is our guest today, and look at what's been brave about her journey and what has really been the difference that she's made to people, as well as, how has her life really unfolded and what's her story. So I want to give you her intro really quick. Her name is Moira Ní Ghallachoir, right? Close? I told her I was I'm going to murder the name. So I'm like, Moira is my friend from Ireland, and we have met recently at events. So that's the power of events. You can meet people all over the world when you show up. And that's exactly what we did. And to give you a little more insight into what Moira is all about, is she helps small business owners and entrepreneurs inspire their way to more clients and customers and profits without being salesy. And she is just all about the sales conversation and really helping people master that. And when they master sales, right, they get to increase their profits that they yearn for. They also fuel their life and live a life that they love. So tell us a little bit more about how you got to this place, and what inspired you to be the sales coach that you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. I was living a fabulous life in London up until like 5 years ago, and I was working with a nonprofit. I was working with young people.
Right.
I mean, I guess you could say I was selling young people on a better way of life than what they were living. Like a lot of them were care leavers, and they were kind of going off the rails. So they had a worker like me to keep them on the straight and narrow. And before that, I had worked in sales and marketing. And then I kind of got to a point in my life where I was like, bored of everything, and I couldn't really figure out what the next move was, and nothing was exciting me. And I was, someone who's always so enthusiastic. I was like, oh my God, am I depressed? Like, what the hell is this?
Right.
I started like looking at all of these different possibilities, like Japan, Australia, America, because I could have gone anywhere, right? And nothing was appealing to me. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? I felt I had the world at my fingertips, but I couldn't take a step forward.
Yeah.
So
paralyzed.
Yeah, right. So I remember I got like a windfall of money that I wasn't expecting. So I treated myself to a ticket to Paris for the weekend, and I thought I'm going to go do some soul searching in the most beautiful city in the world. So I went to Paris, and while I was there, I was just writing all these notes and lists of everything I wanted when I was in my 20s, and the difference that I really wanted to make in the world. And I got this like moment where I started thinking about home, and home for me is Donegal here in Ireland. And I had left there as a teenager, like, small town, big ideas. I was like, I'm out of here, and here I was. And it was all of a sudden I had this sense of peace come over me that, oh my God, this is it. I want to move home. And it was the middle of a recession, Jena. So like the last place anybody was going was back to Ireland. Everybody was leaving. This was about 5 years ago. But I was so certain that this was what I wanted to do, and everybody was saying, you're crazy. And, how can you do this? You're leaving a brilliant job. And I was just like, none of that matters. Like, I just felt that I was onto something. I didn't even know what it was. I suppose you could say it was a very brave move.
It was.
And everything. It just felt so right. And when you make a decision to do something, like everything starts falling into place.
Yeah.
And literally everything started falling into place for me. And it's not that I came here to start working in sales, but what I realized was with a lot of the local businesses here that were struggling and that were closing down, because I took an interest in trying to help them, not from sales, but for any way I could. I realized that the biggest thing they were struggling with was the sales aspect, and the best possible resource I was being to them was helping them with their sales. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, I could maybe do something with this.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of snowballed from there, Jena. Like, one client from 4 years ago, $250,000 revenue 3 years later.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It is brave. It was brave. And I think something you brought up about the paralyzed feeling. And I think sometimes we have to do some soul searching when we're at a crossroad. And that's where you were, right? And figuring out what was next, and where do you belong, and where do you want to live, and what do you want to create for yourself next? Because it's like when the sky's the limit, that's a little much. It's like, so you have to really listen and be willing to hear the whispers, and really take a leap of faith regardless. But once you make a decision, I always say there's 3 things to brave. There's decision, 1. 2 is commitment, right? You could have decided to move home but never committed to it, therefore never made it happen. And then, of course, action, right? Just do it. And that's what you did, it sounded like, is that you took that leap of faith and just said, I'm going to do this regardless of whether people are moving out or moving in, and this feels right to me. And what's the worst that could have happened? You moved again? Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? So I think that's amazing that you listen to yourself, right? And you really, I think that's brave as well, because it's one of the hardest things, not to just get sucked into what everybody else wants for you, right? Versus what you really want for yourself. So congratulations.
And all that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, I know, how we met was at an event in Las Vegas. And I just thought you were always just such an amazing spirit. And, I didn't know even exactly what you did, but I'm like, I'm connected to this girl and I don't know quite why, like, what is it? And then we ran into each other again at another event, and then another event. It's like, if you come to the American events, I'm good, right? Now I got to go to yours. I got to get to Europe. Yes. You got to let me know when the next one happens. So tell us, for the sake of the show, which is all about brave, and, for you, what does brave really mean to you? And first, what's the definition? And then we'll look at what are some other examples of that for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think brave for me is not being afraid of change.
Yeah.
Because, if you take on that brave role, then things are going to change.
Yes.
And for me,
regardless.
And it's like, and every level we get to in our lives, it's going to bring, and every level of that bravery is going to bring another level of being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And it's like, you can, like, what I'm understanding and what my feeling around is like, every time you move up a level, it's uncomfortable as well, but you're braver, and the person you're becoming on the back of doing that is helping you be more comfortable at those levels.
Correct.
And it's like, for me, it's, the bravery part is it's that willing just to keep taking those steps forward, not to stay safe. Just keep moving forward.
I love that, and it's so funny. I ask that pretty much of every guest, and it's kind of like, it's the same yet different, right? There's this different way of perceiving it, and yet it has a common thread. And I think you're so right where we get brave. And this is interesting because I'm working on a new book called The Brave Effect. And because there's a ripple effect when you're brave, it's almost like it creates brave in others, or potentially, and it ripples out to other people in your environment or your clients, or it's kind of like leading by that example. And it ripples for yourself. Like you just said, you go up one level and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I can do this. I've done this before, right? Or, it's a muscle, and we work it and we practice, and we, realize that for me, I think safety is an illusion, right? And so is fear, for that matter. So if you can put in perspective, what really is happening when you take on brave at a new level, and the fact that it does build your confidence to to be, you know, to step into something that seemingly looks unsafe or uncomfortable is really powerful. So tell us a little bit more about clearly moving, changing your environment, stepping more into what's next. What has been, you know, now that you've built this business, and, you know, this is something I always like to get under the hood for people, is that we may look like we have it all pulled together. I mean, you know, like we got it all figured out, and it's like, not really. And so what is it that you've had to deal with, even just recently, maybe in the last year or so, something that just comes up for you inside of building your business? What's been a brave step most recently?
That's a good question. I mean, where I'm based, you know, I'm based in a really small place, like literally on the edge of the Atlantic, like next up Iceland, you know. Wow. And what I'm doing here and how I'm showing up is not like anything of what anybody else is doing. So, and it's that constant battle of knowing you're blatantly being judged by your neighbors, by the people, like, who the hell does she think she is? What is she, you know, what is she doing now? But at the same time, there's always going to be naysayers, right? But then there's always someone who'll like walk up to me in the supermarket and say, I've been watching your videos. I see what you're doing, you know, and I'm just like, oh, really? You like, you know, because
I'm stalking you.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's like, you know, that you're giving people, it's almost like giving them permission to have their piece of brave as well.
Yes. The rave effect.
Yes, exactly. That. I love that. And I think one of the hardest things for me is living in this really small place where everybody knows each other, and, you know, most people are in jobs. There's very few entrepreneurs. There's few entrepreneurs who are speaking on stages all over the world. However, we made it local first. Like, I started in my local community, like really trying to help businesses here and running events that was going to bring more visitors to this corner of Ireland. I think in like a space of like 2 years, I had over 1,000 visitors come to this tiny corner to experience the place like, you know, a local would. And just from doing that, I got to know so much. But even doing that was like, people were like, are you crazy? No one's going to want to come here. We don't have the weather. We don't have the roads. We don't have the Wi-Fi. We don't have, and I was just like, no. They're going to come here because this place is wildly inspirational. Have you seen what's on your doorstep? You know?
Right. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah, right. And because I did that, because I got involved in that, so many other little businesses have started up to do the same type of thing. This is not what I've ended up doing, but it was it definitely started something. It definitely opened people's eyes to what was on their doorstep. That, you know, because sometimes, and this bringing back to my point, is that you can, because we live in this world where we can connect with everybody, we forget to look what's right in front of our noses.
Yeah.
And for me, a brave part is being able to embrace where I am in this small place and still try and step up and show up in the biggest, bestest way that I possibly can for my business, for my clients, for my community.
Yeah, I love that, you know, and it's true, you know, we kind of take for granted what's right in front of us sometimes, right? Just, you know, you see it every day or what have you. But the fact that you are standing your own ground and being yourself and being there, you know, I think entrepreneur is, I say this all the time. It's like entrepreneurship is not the easy way, it's the brave way. And so people that aren't entrepreneurs and they look at you and go, you're crazy. Well, yeah, because they don't get, you know, it's not easy. Why would you choose that, right? It's like the nutty way, you know, we're nutty over here. So, you know, but for you to be strong in your conviction and your commitment, right? Brave daily, right? Commitment to what your purpose is, what you're passionate about, and the fact that you can make a difference to entrepreneurs worldwide. And also bring, I mean, I would love to be in your space because I don't walk out every day and see, you know, Ireland, right? And what an awesome opportunity for people. And at the same time, you get to utilize technology and an airplane and reach out and connect with people all over the world. I mean, that's how we met. And I think that was super brave for you to, you know, to venture out into the world, like literally the world, a different country. Like it's, you know, when I think about, hey, I should fly to London or I should fly to Ireland and like show up and be a speaker. And it's like, what are these people going to think? You know, I'm a blonde girl from Texas, you know, they don't, who knows what they're going to think. Right. But so it's brave to say, I'm going to do it anyway. And you really have, you've put yourself out there in probably one of the biggest ways possible, which is go across cultures and a whole different world and say, I'm here to serve you. And I think maybe that's why I connected with you so quickly, is like, she's brave. That's what I can tell. I know she's brave. So awesome. So let's see. My other question is, what is, you know, when you look to the future, like we always, I know, you know, I'm sure like you, like me, we got plans, we got big visions, we got things we got to get done. We got what's next, right? For our business or for our clients, or, you know, what we want for ourselves. So what's the next brave for you? Like what's coming up that you're like, okay, this is a little nerve-wracking or fearful?
It's probably growing my team now, and not just managing myself. And then seeing that I have to actually bring other people on board to make this bigger and stronger.
Right.
You know? And obviously there's the giving up control of being in control of absolutely everything.
Right.
There's a bit of that going on. And I think, you know, it's always like this other level of, you know, uncomfortability. Like now I'm looking at bigger stages and bigger events and, you know, higher level sponsorships. And it's just like, okay, you know, because you think that you're just like, you're just getting used to where you are. And then it's just like, oh shit, you know,
I gotta do something bigger.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's all of that. And it's also, you know, there's a real excitement to this, that, you know, that you're really doing this. I am really, really doing this. You know, there's no going back.
Yeah.
You know, there's only forward, there's only up, there's only rise, you know, as Alison Bird would say.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah, you know, that's interesting because, you know, and that's why I ask that question a lot of times, because, you know, we don't stay comfortable very long, in my opinion, if you're really being the true entrepreneur, right? Which is, you know, pushing yourself into the uncomfortable, and the more expedient you are to that, right, the bigger the brave ripple effect that occurs, and for yourself and for others. And, you know, and it's the same for me. I mean, just a matter of 3-4 years ago, I wasn't speaking at all. You wouldn't catch me on this video right now, you know, and I'd be like, I'm not getting on a stage. Like, there's no way. I had all the fears, you know, what are they going to think? I'm going to forget everything I got to say. And I didn't mind standing in front of people, but I felt like I had something to prove, or something, you know, and you had to get vulnerable. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? You know? And so it's interesting, as many times as I've seen you, I think that's what I'm watching, is you get braver and braver, you know, like you keep getting to bigger stages. Right. And, so for anyone listening and watching this, it's like, that's what's next for us, you know, is to push ourselves to things that are uncomfortable for the sake of stronger business, bigger vision, right? And helping more people. And when you can do that, then you give the permission of the people you serve. Like you mentioned, permission, I think, is really powerful. You show what's possible, right? If we can do this, people can do this. Like, this is not, I have to be careful. I say this isn't rocket science, and I have one of my clients is a rocket scientist. And I'm like, but yeah, people can't do what you do, Joe. He's a rocket scientist. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you do for a living, but it's amazing, right? Because he builds rocket ships. But he makes sure those astronauts get home. So let's do this. What is some advice for people? Let's kind of shift back to what you do for entrepreneurs in the sales arena. And I think sales is one of those brave areas as well. You know, we're good at what we do. We're good at, you know, whatever widget we sell or whatever expertise we have, but sales and being sales driven in a business, like, business doesn't exist unless you have revenue. Well, the only way you get to revenue is a sales conversation, right? To have sales and transactions and ask people to work with you. So give some advice, maybe 3 tips or whatever comes up for you, of entrepreneurs that are listening, and how to really simplify that for them.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs, gotta do is like gotta realize that, if you're gonna hate something, you're never gonna be good at it.
Right. It's all
And
perspective.
right, it is. Like I'm not good at anything I hate, actually. I don't think
Funny
so.
how that works.
See how that works. And
Yeah.
when it comes to sales in your business, that you've got to just change. You have to change your attitude. But the way to change your attitude is to really believe in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and not stop playing at what you're doing, and actually believe that the person you're talking to and the act you're going to take and the phone call you're going to make is actually going to make a big difference. And just coming back to what you said, the ripple effect of that. And it's not just believing in what you're doing, in terms of like, oh, you're a coach and really believing in that, but really believing in the results that you're going to get to
Right.
somebody. And it's who you become when you believe in what you're doing. It's how you show up that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And when you show up in that way and you're talking and you're being enthusiastic and genuine, it's actually the opposite of what selling is. It's you being you, and it's you being genuinely inspired about what you have to offer, and people will be highly attracted to that. And that's not selling.
Yeah.
That is how you attract clients into your business, and it's the most simple thing. But for me, it's the foolproof path to profit. And if you can start with that and just work on that, like your whole business will turn around faster than you can say, 6 figures.
Like, what's a long word? It's so true. I love that you say that, because I had to walk this walk too, and getting grounded. And of course I talk about sales. I'm a numbers girl anyway. And, and being able to take ownership of the results and the transformation that you bring. Yeah. And I think that's the way to reframe it for people, is that, this isn't about, even if you're selling Band-Aids, the person with the wound is very open to what you have to offer. And the result's called, I don't get an infection, or the wound gets better, right? So even if you're selling Band-Aids, be grounded in the difference you're going to make to that person, right? I think we're a little more heart-centered out there. And, certainly you and I attract a lot of people that are trying to make big differences in the world. But I think, it's like, I want to hear what you have to say about this. I told a client, and she just reposted what I said on in my Facebook group. And I said, when you go to an ice cream store and they ask you, do you want sprinkles? Right? It's kind of like, here's the ice cream. Do you want sprinkles? And you get to choose. You get to go, no, I don't want sprinkles today. Or yes, thank you very much. Thanks for asking. And I said, so I told her, I said, so are you going to ask people if they want sprinkles? Or are you going to deprive them of the choice to have sprinkles? And I said, that's the whole point of invitation, to work with you. It's like, you're working with them, you're talking to someone, you're maybe giving them some immediate advice, and then you just forget to ask them to work with you or to give them sprinkles. And it's like, why, right? It's like, they're just sprinkles. And, can we just ask people if they want sprinkles or chocolate M&Ms or whatever? And they get to say no. They get to say yes or no. But I think the problem is we're so scared of just asking and inviting that they don't even get to choose sprinkles, right? They don't even get to have the opportunity. And I think that's the downfall of being so afraid to sell and sound like it, and the bottom line is, you're not selling, you're asking them to fix the problem or to have more of what they really want. So I don't know what your take on is. I was like, I don't know where that analogy came from, but she ran with it, and it made a difference. So, right? It's just the invitation.
Yeah, and you made it sound even friendly as well. And it is friendly, it's just,
it is.
People have got to let themselves off the hook, because, there is going to be rejection. There's rejection at every corner of our lives,
Completely.
It's just how we take it. And it's like, and if you are that serious, and again, comes back to believing in what you're doing. If you are that way in your business, by not asking somebody to work with you, then who are you then?
Yeah.
Just built them up to have this great vision of what's possible, and then you don't invite them to do it any further. It's like, who does that make you?
Right. Yeah.
Because you're afraid of what, that they will be successful and they will get what they want.
Yeah, right. Like it's like such a disservice not to ask and just be like, you get to choose, right? It's a decision. and nothing more or less than that, you know, and wow, some of them choose yes, you know, like celebrate the no's and the yeses. So that is, I think, great advice, by the way. I just love your advice about, you know,
and, you know, it's
getting
like,
grounded.
And I think as well as that, it's like, you know, I think when you've got so much riding on the ask and the yes and the rejection, you're not speaking to enough people. That is the bottom line.
Yes.
It's the bottom line, because
yes.
if you keep doing that, you know, then number one, you're not going to be so afraid. You're not going to be like hanging on every person that you have to speak to, you know, like, because I spoke to one client today and she's doing great, but I'm like, but you've only had 4 consultations this month, you know,
right?
Brilliant, but you need, you know, you need another 40. You know?
Right. I'm like, I start them out at 20 minimum and then I go up from there. And I'm like, 20 minimum people, it's like 1 a week. It's not even enough test.
No.
It's not even a testing ground for what, you know, mastery for that matter.
No. And, you know, and like being able to get on a mission with that, you know, that can be fun.
Yeah.
You know, you're not so like, oh my God, I had to ask, or they said no, or no.
It's so good. Yeah. Well, so grateful. Number one, that you got your brave on, you stepped into your expertise, and you clearly know sales, you know how to help entrepreneurs, and your brave certainly inspires others in my belief. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for just being you always. I think that's the best thing about Moira, is that you're always authentically you. So thank you for that.
Thanks, and right back at you, Jena. I admire you so much. I'm loving watching your success, and I can't wait to see you at another event soon. Who knows?
Yes. We'll create one. We'll just figure it out. So awesome. Thank you. And I ditto that as well. And so for everyone listening, what is the best way this audience can connect with you?
Yeah, I think the best way right now would be to send me an email to Moira, that's MOI for Ireland, R for Robert, A for Alpha, at MNG, which is M for Mother, N for Norman, G for Green.ie, IE for Ireland. So Moira at MNG.ie. And if you do contact me, I'll send you this really cool guide that I created, because I think one of the hardest things for a lot of entrepreneurs is to just start a conversation in the first place. So I created this guide that's got like 15 powerful conversations where you will never be someone who shows up at an event or picks up the phone and doesn't know what to say, and you can start the types of conversations that lead to clients and contracts in an inspirational way, not in a cheesy, salesy way.
I love it. Thank you for gifting that. And I know we'll put your email. I know that might have been a mouthful, so we'll put that in the show notes and make sure people can connect with you. And you're on, I mean, I know this for a fact, you're on social media, and so you guys can find her on Facebook and Instagram. And also, I know you've got a website. Do you want to share what that is as well?
Yeah, it's www.mng.ie, and it's literally my initials. You know, I didn't set out to change the world when I put that. I was like, oh, let me just try this.
And it was available. So awesome. Very simple. Yeah, we'll make sure they have that as well. And there's my dog barking. Sorry, guys. Welcome to home office. But, you know, I just really appreciate your time. And so in closing, if this was the last chance, right? Last chance to leave a thought or you know, your wisdom with those listening, and you had no other opportunity, what would be that great sound advice that you would give them?
That no matter where you are right now, that nothing will change until you change. And you can do that in an instant. Literally. It could be one click of a button right now to your phone or to your email, or something that could change everything. But get out of your head and go make it happen, because nothing will change until you. And if you've got the balls to change, you're going to enjoy what happens.
I love it. Love it. That's awesome, though. That's a great advice. Thank you so much for being here. And I just want to offer everyone, you know, I love community, and I love being, you know, supportive. And so does BB the dog. And a great way to play with us, play with our community, is to join me in the Facebook group called Get Your Brave On. And you look it up on Facebook, and you'll find me, and you can join us, a free group, just to get support and stay committed with other committed entrepreneurs. And I just want to remind you that brave is something you choose, and it does get easier. And I just encourage you every single day to get your brave on. And so I call it Get Brave Daily. And until next time, thank you, Moira, for being here. And thanks to our audience for listening. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.